Welcome to a new and exciting GCSE for the art department at St Catherine's College. The course is in three-dimensional design. So what is the course? The course is designed to enable you to develop skills in a wide range of media, both digital and non-digital. And on the screen here you can see some of the projects that we'll be undertaking. Investigating materials and processes, construction techniques, and working with drawings to come up with a final idea is a substantial part of the process that you will undergo. We will look at everything from architectural design through to theatre, film, television, and animation. The course itself is divided into two parts. 60% is the coursework, which you start in year 10 and work all the way up to in year 11. And then in the last part of year 11, you will get an exam paper, which will account for 40% of the final grade. This in itself is a mini project. So what sort of skills will you need to develop? As an absolute must, your observational drawing skills will need to improve. This is to enable you to clearly and quickly illustrate ideas and designs to a client. You need to be inquisitive about materials. Really investigate what are the latest sorts of materials to use, sustainable materials to use, ecologically friendly materials to use, and how are you going to use them to their best effect. You will be given a number of briefs. These design briefs are to encourage you to develop a creative approach to problem solving. So you need to be the sort of person who likes a good problem and is prepared to work hard in coming up with a great final solution. You need to be flexible and innovative in terms of your solutions. Again, looking to modern technologies, but also, in part, looking to past solutions and how those can be improved. At least one of your units will be as part of working in a team, and you'll be assessed on how well you work and plan within a team to come up with a final solution. Across all these areas, communication is essential, whether that's visual, auditory, or written. There will be an element of written analysis on every project. However, I want to make it really clear that it is not just about three-dimensional design and digital materials. You will need to experiment with non-digital materials as well. And this point about observational drawing, it is essential. You need to be able to quickly communicate your ideas in a clear and succinct way. Drawing skills enable you to do this. So what sort of systems will you learn? You'll learn about computer-aided design, 3D digital modelling, output to resin and FDM 3D printers, laser production for laser cutting and forming, computer-aided manufacturing. These areas are underpinned by three basic software solutions: Adobe Suite, Fusion 360 and Blender. All three are industry standard pieces of software that you will learn skills in over the coming 2 years. As this is a new GCSE, I want to give you an example of the sort of project or design brief that you might be given. Now, the design brief could be anything from coming up with an architectural solution to a specific site, or resolving some problem to a packaging design or product. In this case, it's coming up with a piece of jewellery, given a specific motif that the client would like you to work with. After reading the design brief and having some question and answer sessions with the client, you start to sketch out some ideas, designs for a final product. This would be a number of different designs and ideas which you then finalise, come up with a solution and present as initially a drawing. Once you've done the drawing, you would then come into a piece of software. It might initially be a two-dimensional design software like Adobe Illustrator, and start to plot out accurately your design. You can see that in the video in the bottom left-hand corner. Once you've worked out your design in that stage, you'll then go on to use a 3D precision modeling design tool, in this case Fusion 360, and start to import and develop that design. So here we can see a very simple sort of import and extrusion to show you what the product's going to look like in terms of a three-dimensional shape or surface. Following on from there, we also may look at Blender. This is a more organic design process, and we can map different materials to this, different looks to this. We can also animate it and work in it in a lot of different sort of final finishes before resolving the design, coming up with the solution, and moving on to the next step, which is printing. But as you can see, all these designs come from an initial drawing-based situation. And that's again why it is important to develop those observational drawing skills to enable you to communicate with the client clearly what the final product may look like. So once you've done all your three-dimensional design work on the computer, the next thing to do is to produce a prototype of it that the client can have a look at, hold, examine in a little bit more detail. Here's an example of that. We've taken our ring design and we put it into a slicing program which enables this to be 3D printed, in this case Cura. We test out that model, make sure that it's going to print well, and learn about how to set up printers, what sort of printers we have. There are FDM printers but also resin printers that we've got access to. Check how that design is going to work, process it, and then once we're happy with those elements, we will then go to the 3D printer and print out a rough prototype. Once that prototype has been printed, then we will clean up the prototype. And that just gives us an idea really of how it feels, the sort of texture of it, the overall look and scale, and gives us something to work with. And we may then take this design on and cast from it or refine it. Might put it into a resin printer to get a very accurate final mould, which we can then work with for the final product. But as you can see, all the way from a drawing to the final prototype modelling, this is the sorts of projects and things that you are going to be looking at and doing. I want to emphasise the wide range of products and projects that you may well undertake during the 2 years that you're studying three-dimensional design. Everything from architecture, it could be about prosthetic limbs, sculpture, eco-friendly packaging designs, furniture designs using living hinges, products and sculpture. There is a huge range of potential outcomes and types of materials that you're going to be using. One of the areas I'm really keen on pushing forward is looking at nature. In this case, let's take the simple shell, something we have a lot of around Eastbourne, and investigating what are the properties of that shell, where its strengths are, analysing that through drawing, and then maybe even coming up with a final design solution to, in this case, an architectural product. It could be that we look at recyclable things. How can we reuse cardboard? In this case, coming up with a secure packaging for a light bulb using existing materials. There are a huge range of potential outcomes for this three-dimensional design course. And I want you to be one of those people who's prepared to look into, investigate, explore, experiment with a whole range of new technologies and emerging technologies, building skills that will enable you to work on these things for the future.